So, if you have ever stood in front of a cluttered closet or even an overflowing junk drawer, knowing that you should get rid of things, but instead you just shut the door and walk away, maybe you pick up an old sweater and convince yourself you might wear it again someday, or you hesitate over a stack of papers because what if you need them someday? If this sounds familiar, let me assure you, it's not because you're lazy and it's not because you're bad at organizing. There's actually a deeper reason why you struggle to let go of clutter, and once you understand what's really going on, you can finally break free from it. So in today's episode, I'm sharing a bit about the 3 most common clutter languages, the hidden emotional patterns that keep you stuck in clutter. And trust me, once you recognize your own clutter language, you'll never look at your stuff the same way again. Ready to find out what's holding you back? Let's jump in and get started.
Well, hey there, I am Jennifer Roskamp, a certified life coach and homeschool mom of 9 who is passionate about helping women just like you embrace the here and now while also being focused on creating the life you actually want. As a midlife mom in her 40s, about to be a mom in my 50s, I've realized that it's so easy to lose yourself in caring for your family, your home, and all the things. Until one day you realize you're not even sure who you are anymore or what you even want in life. So on this podcast, we're going to work on managing yourself well so that you can manage all of the other things and people well too. So let's dive into what it means to manage your home, your time, your family, and yourself well. This is the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast.
All right. So we've all been there, right? We've all been standing in front of a pile of stuff, telling yourself you should get rid of it, but instead you just walk away. Again, maybe you pick something up and think, I might wear this again, or I might use this again someday. Or you hold on to that kitchen gadget you never use because, hey, somebody gave it to you. If you've ever felt stuck in this cycle, I want you to know, again, it's not because you're lazy. And it's not because you're bad at organizing. There's actually this deeper reason why you struggle to let go of stuff. So we're talking about these 3 most common clutter languages. There's actually 10, but these clutter languages really are the hidden reason why you're stuck. And once you start to see yourself and understand what clutter language you speak, you'll never look at your stuff the same way again. So before we dive in, let's talk about what a clutter language actually is. So your clutter language is the emotional reason behind why clutter builds up in your home. It's really the pattern that keeps you stuck. And what I found is that most women fall into one or more of these actual 10 categories without even realizing it. So we're going to be breaking down the top 3 clutter languages that I see over and over again. And as you listen, I want you to think, which one sounds like me? So number 1, clutter language number 1, the sentimental keeper. So let's start with a big one, the sentimental or emotional keeper. This one is for all my fellow saps out there. And I say fellow because yes, this is where I fall. So you keep your kids' baby clothes, even though they're teenagers now. You hold on to birthday cards, ticket stubs, gifts from people, even if you don't actually like the item because getting rid of it feels like getting rid of the memory. You're struggling to let go of these things because they hold the memories. And like I said, I totally get this one. When I stopped having babies, and it hasn't been that long for me, my youngest is only 6. But when I stopped having babies, realizing there were no more coming, I had to face something that I had been avoiding for years. I knew that once the babies stopped, I would need to let go of these baby clothes. And I really felt like if I got rid of them, I was closing a door on a huge part of my life. I was having babies for almost 20 years. And the memories weren't in the clothes. I finally have been progressively realizing this. I knew it, but I've actually been feeling this. I now feel have to remind myself. My head feels like I'm getting rid of the memories. But in my heart, I actually know that the memories are inside of me. And once I started letting go of these little onesies, I actually felt lighter because I realized I was holding on to what mattered without having to keep all of this stuff. So, what we need to recognize when we are a sentimental or emotional keeper is that we can let go without losing the memories. But this is hard, right? So here's why being a sentimental keeper, why it's hard for us to let go. We know more than I think anyone else when we are in this clutter language, we know that stuff isn't just stuff. It's memories, it's relationships, and it's moments frozen in time. And so letting go can feel like erasing part of your past or betraying someone who gave you the item. But here's why it's worth it to press through it. Number one, you'll keep the memories, not the mess. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means creating space for new memories instead of being weighted down by the past. This was a powerful one for me. It really, letting go does allow for more space in your heart to create more memories. This was kind of the kicker for me. Once I really started to internalize this one, it became so much easier. But letting go doesn't mean forgetting. That's one reason it's worth it to just keep going. Number two, when you start letting go of this stuff, you'll cherish what truly matters. When you intentionally choose to keep just a few meaningful pieces instead of holding on to everything, the items that you do keep will hold even greater value. And you're going to have to trust me on this one. I have started letting go of this stuff, and I have found this to be 100% true. Reason number three that it's worth it to keep pressing on is because your home will reflect who you are now. Let me say that again. Your home will reflect who you are now. Time has moved forward. You have moved forward. But with all of this old stuff that isn't serving you and to an extent is probably strangling you now, it's making it so that your home doesn't reflect the you that you are now, the life that you have now, the growth that has happened in you and in your kids and in the season of life. Holding on to too much sentimental clutter, it can keep you stuck in the past. And when you release what no longer serves you, you create a space that supports who you are today. And that's the woman you want to support. You want to support you now, not you back then. So how do we actually do this? Here's something I find to be super helpful for myself and clients when I help them get rid of their clutter and they are sentimental or emotional keepers as well. Take photos of the sentimental items before letting them go. Take as many photos as you want. And you can even eliminate the clutter on your phone that you're using to take the pictures by putting them in a folder. But take photos of whatever you want before letting them go. And keep just a few meaningful pieces, but release the rest. Knowing that the memory is in you, not in the item. Clutter language number 2, the just-in-case thinker. So the just-in-case thinker, if you've ever thought, I might need this someday, or I paid good money for this one is for you. You have bins and bins of extra cords, random kitchen tools, clothes you might fit into again someday, and stacks of papers you never look at because, hey, what if you need it? But here's the truth. 99% of the time, you won't. And when you do, you'll either find another solution, borrow it, or not even remember that you had it in the first place. That's such a good thing to think about. When you have too much stuff, when you have too much clutter, do you actually know everything that you have? My guess is not. So this kind of clutter, it really can keep your space crowded and your mind cluttered because you're living for someday instead of creating a home that serves you today. You're living for someday instead of creating a home that serves you today. I probably should have given you a little warning at the beginning of this episode that there were going to be some hard truth bombs in here, but that's my job as a life coach. That is my job for every one of my coaching clients, is to give them the truth. And sometimes, a lot of times, that's the hard truth. But it's when we understand the truth, even the hard truth, especially the hard truth, it's when we understand and accept this that we're actually able to move forward. And when we're not moving forward, we're stuck. And when we're stuck, we're usually not happy. We're usually not content. We're usually not filled with joy. We usually are experiencing emotions that are totally different, kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. We're feeling powerless. We're feeling hopeless. We're feeling trapped. We're feeling desperate sometimes. A lot of times we're feeling guilt. We're feeling shame. Sometimes we're feeling regret. What if you could swap out all of those emotions for those positive ones? When I sent out a survey asking women the things they are feeling, their top three feelings or emotions right now, and the top ones they would like to feel instead, when they tell me what they're experiencing, they tell me things like stuck, overwhelmed, stressed. They tell me they have anxiety. They tell me they have depression. And so often, this is because we have so much feelings of guilt and shame and frustration and what we wish, but we feel like we can't, or what we feel like we want, but we convince ourselves is out of reach. We tell ourselves we're incapable of moving forward. We tell ourselves we're incapable of change. We tell ourselves that's not possible for me. I'm just too this, or I'm too that, or I have this limitation. And we accept it. We accept these things as our reality and as weights that are keeping us stuck. What if it didn't have to be that way? And if you've got clutter, this is what I hope you are starting to realize right now, is what if it didn't have to be this way? By the way, I've got a freebie for you down in the show notes. We'll link to it. It's got all 10 clutter languages there for you. So if you identify with these 3, it could be that you identify with 7 others. And if you don't identify with these 3, it's okay. I've got 7 others that could describe who you are. So make sure you grab that freebie. It's down in the show notes. But I hope if you have been living in a world where your clutter feels like it is strangling you, maybe you have relationship problems as a result. Maybe you would love to open the doors of your home, but you can't because what if they knew? And you feel this shame, this guilt, and this, how did I let it get this far? Today, the fact that you are listening to this episode, let it be the moment where things change. Let it be the moment where you see it differently, where you feel it differently, and where you feel hope instead of trapped. And if you are here listening to this episode, if this is the very first episode of the Intentional Midlife Mom podcast that you're listening to, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you've heard every episode I've put out, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. But if you are here, it's not by chance. You are here to learn more about your clutter, and I hope that you let this episode be that turning point for you. So, if you are a just-in-case thinker, let's talk about what makes this hard. For us, for the just-in-case thinker, clutter feels like a safety net, essentially. The fear of getting rid of something and then needing it later, it's a real fear. And so you keep everything, just in case. But here's why it's worth pressing forward. Because, number 1, you'll gain space and peace of mind. Instead of feeling buried under the what-ifs, you'll enjoy a home that's calm, open, and so much easier to maintain. Number 2 reason it's worth it is because you'll trust yourself to handle the future. Instead of relying on stuff to prepare for someday, you'll develop the confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. And guess what? When you have the confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way, it changes everything. It's not just you'll have the confidence to handle stuff, you'll have the confidence to handle life. So often, women come to me and they lack this confidence. And part of why they lack this confidence is because they allow the past to define them. And so your clutter has been defining you, whether you realize it or not. So you can allow yourself to start releasing the clutter and watch your confidence to handle life grow. The third reason why it's worth it to press on is because you'll have what you actually use, nothing more, nothing less. Most of the time, these just in case items, they never get used. And by decluttering, you'll have a home filled with things that actively improve your life every day and serve you in the life that you live and support you in the life that you live every day. Instead of sitting untouched in storage bins or even out where you have to go around it and clean around it and look at it. When you have visual clutter, it gives you brain fatigue. Imagine if you could let it go. Imagine if you didn't have to look at it. Imagine if you didn't have to know it is there. So, how do we do this? Here's something that is helpful. It's to set a use by deadline. You create the rule. You create the deadline. But the rule is that if you haven't used something by that deadline, it has to go. And kind of the overarching rule is that if you haven't used something in the past year, you can trust that you won't need it. Release the fear and let it go. So that's all about the just in case thinker. The third clutter language that we're going to talk about today is the overwhelmed avoider. If you walk into a cluttered room and immediately feel so overwhelmed that you just turn around and walk away, this is probably you. Maybe you don't even know where to start, or you start decluttering, but halfway through, it looks worse than when you started, and so you give up. Clutter is mentally exhausting. Let me say this again. Clutter is mentally exhausting, and the more we avoid it, the bigger it feels, and the more exhausted we feel. But here's the secret. The hardest part is just starting. So just to review, the overwhelmed avoider, finding clarity in the chaos. This is what we're going for. But here's why it's hard. Because for the overwhelmed avoider, clutter can feel like an impossible mountain to climb. There's so much. There's so much that you don't even know where to start. And so you don't. You push it aside and you hope, but don't really know. You hope that you will deal with it later. But we know that later never comes. So here's why pressing forward when you are an overwhelmed avoider becomes worth it. Number one, you will finally feel in control of your home. And when we don't feel in control of your home, when you don't feel in control of your home, you don't feel in control of much of anything. So you'll feel in control of your home, but that will spill over into that confidence and those feelings of control in all kinds of other areas. So instead of clutter dictating how you feel every day, you get to take charge. And that, my friend, feels incredible. You get to take charge. And just like I said, that spills over into everything else. When you have that confidence that you have been successfully taking control of your clutter, suddenly, perhaps that consistent workout time isn't going to feel so impossible. Maybe getting back in control of your finances, facing your finances, maybe that won't feel so overwhelming. Maybe those difficult relationships won't feel so overwhelming and so paralyzing. It is so amazing. When you can deal with this clutter, it's often the cork in the bottle that is keeping so many other things kind of festering all together in an unhealthy way. When that cork in the bottle can be released, it can change everything. And it feels incredible. The number two reason why it's worth it is because you will break the cycle of stress. Clutter does create overwhelm, which makes you avoid it, which makes it worse. Breaking free, it really means no more guilt, no more shame, No more frustration, just hope, just excitement, just energy. And the big one, relief. Getting rid of clutter can bring in relief. The third reason that pushing through is worth it is because you will prove to yourself that you can do hard things. I talk about doing hard things all the time. I welcome doing hard things all the time. I don't always like it, but I welcome it because I know that growth happens in the hard things. And when it comes to your clutter, every small win, clearing a counter, organizing a drawer, all of that adds up to a huge transformation, not just in your home, again, but in your mindset, in how you see yourself, in how you see and believe what is possible. It really can be such a huge catalyst. You'll have to trust me that you truly have no idea the transformation that I see in my coaching clients when we work on clutter. It is unmistakable. Everything changes about them. And it's because of this freeing. It's because of this no longer feeling stuck and like a prisoner in your own home, yes, but a prisoner in your own life. This is your amazing, beautiful life. What if it was easier for you to actually live it? And I know we think of our life as compartmentalized, right? If you've got a problem with clutter, you've probably looked at it as just this compartment. It's my clutter problem. It's my messy home. It's my problem with my home. But our life is not compartmentalized. Humans, we are not compartmentalized. How you feel about your home affects how you feel about yourself, your relationships, how you feel about your ability to manage things in terms of your clutter reflects and impacts how you see yourself as capable or incapable to solve other problems, do other things, start other projects. If you struggle to start dealing with your clutter, is it really that surprising that you struggle to start a consistent workout routine or a consistent, healthier eating habit plan or a healthier look at your finances or even healthier relationships? If you feel like there is something wrong with you in clutter, you likely feel like there's something wrong with you in other areas as well. Negative self-talk is such a real thing, and it comes from the feelings of powerlessness that we have about ourselves. It comes from the things that we feel defeated to do anything about. It comes from the way that we see ourselves and define ourselves as unable, as incapable, as broken, as something's wrong with you. Everybody else can manage this, but you can't. Those conversations, those negative self-talk conversations that you have about yourself, they come from somewhere. They are all rooted in different thoughts that are related to different things, but your thoughts all get in and play one with another. They all have this muscle memory where they remember that if you tell yourself you're incapable or bad or wrong or lazy in one area, you're going to take all of those same labels into something else that you are trying to do, trying to overcome, trying to face, trying to take action on in a completely different way. They will all follow you there. These negative thoughts, these negative labels, you carry them with you everywhere. And they become this lens or this filter through which everything you look at doing, everything you experience, everything you want to do, every dream you have, every possibility you think about, they go through the lens of your perception of yourself. And this lens of perception you have about yourself, it's usually not a lens of compassion. It's a lens of negativity. How hard do you think it is to see anything in a positive light when you have this continual negative lens that everything is filtered through. It can be done, but the level to which you experience positivity, it's always going to be throttled back because it's got this negative lens like a weight pulling it down. The happiness, the joy that you feel in the things you're experiencing, in the realities that you're living every day, in the relationships with the people that you have, that you love the most, those are all impacted by your negative lens. And if you have clutter, this negative lens, it has a tie, perhaps a very powerful tie to this clutter. Today can be the day that you break free. Which of these clutter languages do you identify with? Maybe it's one, maybe it's all. And again, there's likely more that you are going to identify with. So make sure that you grab that freebie down in the show notes that will help you identify all of them. So what can we do if we know that we are the overwhelmed avoider? How can we get started? Well, instead of tackling one entire room, pick one tiny space. One tiny space. Maybe it is a single drawer, a single shelf, a single small box, one surface, one bin. Start there, build momentum, and what you'll find is that it will get easier. So now that you know these 3 clutter languages, let me ask you, which one sounds like you? Are you the sentimental keeper? Are you the just-in-case thinker? Or are you the overwhelmed avoider? Again, or maybe you're a mix of all 3. No matter which one fits you, the good news is there's a way to break free. There is a way to break free from that clutter cycle. And that is exactly what we're going to be talking about in my Clutter Control Workshop. I'm teaching it live in February. It is a live interactive workshop, and it's happening inside Accomplished Lifestyle, my private coaching community. I will be allowing you, anybody who wants to be part of this workshop, who wants to finally break free from their clutter, to join us in Accomplished Lifestyle for the entire month, an entire 30 days for just $7 instead of the normal $67 tag to be in my coaching community. In this workshop, I'm going to help you identify your clutter language and how to work with it instead of against it. I'm going to help you create a simple step-by-step decluttering strategy that works for you and your life. It's not the one that works for me. I'm going to help you create one that works for you. And you're going to get actual work done on your clutter during this session. Plus, there are bonuses as well. When you join us for this workshop, you'll also get my Clutter Cure bonus pack, and it's going to help you take action even faster. So what does this mean for you? It means that overcoming your clutter struggle is about more than just a tidy home. It's about feeling peaceful instead of overwhelmed. It's about trusting yourself instead of doubting and questioning every decision you make. It's about creating a space that helps you breathe, relax, and enjoy your life. And the best part is with a workshop, you don't have to do it alone. We do it together. Inside the Clutter Control Workshop, we're going to tackle your specific clutter language or languages so that you can stop struggling and start making real progress without that stress, without the guilt, or without the frustration. So how can you join the workshop? Start by grabbing that freebie of the 10 clutter languages down below in the show notes, because it will give you a preview of what you're going to be learning. And everyone who has grabbed that freebie will get the information about joining Accomplished Lifestyle for this workshop when it becomes available. So it starts by grabbing that freebie so that you are on the list of everyone who will be notified when enrollment and registration opens for this workshop. So thanks so much for joining me. If you have found this to be helpful and you know of friends you have who also are ready to break free, not just with clutter, but in life, share this episode with them. It's what helps get the word out to those who need to hear it. And we love when you can leave us reviews. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, we would love it if you could leave us a review. That's how this podcast, again, gets pumped out to those who need it. So thanks so much for joining today. Until we talk again, make it an intentional day.